Joining us now is the former senator from South Carolina, Jim DeMint. You know, he was one of our favorite senators there when he was in the U.S. Senate, and he got fed up with those people and decided, I'm going to get some real work done. I'm going to go be president of the Heritage Foundation. Senator DeMint, thanks for joining us this morning.
Larry, Brian, it's good to be back with you.
It's good to have you.
So immigration reform, that's what they're calling it. You and your friends at Heritage, of course, have looked at this bill from the so-called Gang of Eight. Is this really reform, or is this amnesty?
I wish it were reform. We need to reform our system. Immigration has always been real important to our country, but from the very beginning with the behind closed doors process, now they're trying to rush it through. This bill is, again, one of those large bills that it's very difficult to understand. There's some things in it that would be good for our immigration system that we could all agree on if they would pull it out of the bill and do that first. Instead, they do amnesty first, and then all we can do is hope that they'll do the rest. But Congress has no credibility to follow through, and the president certainly doesn't have any credibility to keep his promises.
Let me just follow up on the question of amnesty, because my understanding of this bill, and you're right, it is so long, and it just drives me nuts. The Constitution is so easy to understand, and yet every law that gets pushed through now, you need 17 lawyers to figure out 17 different interpretations. But my understanding is the people who are here illegally right now, they would be decriminalized, for lack of a better word. They'd have to pay a fine, and then they would have to go through a process that would take up to 15 to 20 years before they become full citizens. Is that true, what my interpretation of what the law says? And is that, if that's the case, is that in fact amnesty?
Well, Larry, think of all the promises the president made on Obamacare or on the stimulus or Dodd-Frank. None of those promises have come true. We have laws on the books now, such as the president's required to build 700 miles of double-layer fencing in vulnerable places of our southern border. It's been on the books during his whole presidency, and he hasn't done it. So the fact that it might be in the language does not mean it's going to happen. The only thing we know is going to happen is that the folks who are here illegally will get legal status, and then there'll be a campaign to expedite their citizenship, because I'm convinced, after being in these working groups myself, the Democrats want more voters, more union members. That's pretty much the focus here, and that's what we're going to hear from. And it's going to be very expensive. That's something Heritage has done that no other organization has done, is looked at the cost of allowing so many people who are here unlawfully to start taking advantage of our social benefits and to be on Social Security and Medicare. It's in the trillions of dollars. The report will be out next week.
All right, let me ask you about this, because you touched upon it just briefly. There's a report out in Politico that says, look, if you were to apply, these 11 million illegal immigrants are in this country, and you make them citizens and they're allowed to vote, if that had been applied in the last election, instead of winning by 4 points, Obama would have won by 7 points. If you're a Republican and you just look at the raw politics of it, why would you be in favor of immigration reform?
Well, we are in favor of immigration reform, but that's very different than a blanket amnesty. And if we were fixing our system, I would encourage every Republican and Democrat to be a part of it. But we're not fixing the system. That's something we hope will happen in the future. What we're doing is, again, giving legal status, and I think we will end up with expedited citizenship. And the cost of that, in cultural terms and fiscal terms, is just something that Congress doesn't seem willing to consider. So I just think we all need to slow down and look at this bill. There needs to be more open debate about the process, but it's going to be very costly to our country, and it could change our country in a lot of ways.
As you said, slow down the process. There are some who are saying, in light of what happened in Boston, that would be a good reason to slow down the process, because we really sometimes don't know who is in this country, even those that are here, legally or semi-legally. We don't know who they are, and we haven't done a good job of tracking and keeping up with them.
Well, I mean, I think it's too quick to politicize anything that happened in Boston, but your point is exactly right. We don't know. We obviously didn't do a good job with these two people. What about 11 million people that suddenly have legal status? And that legal status will never be changed. So they're here. They're with us. And if they came here unlawfully, the thought is that perhaps they're not good law-abiding citizens in the first place. So we just need to be careful as a country. We're kind of tinkering on the brink right now in a lot of ways. And so we need to do what's good for Americans, particularly those people who came here for freedom and opportunity, naturalized American citizens. We need to protect that opportunity, and I'm afraid this is going the opposite way.
Senator Jim DeMint, you were a early and strong supporter of your former colleague, Senator Marco Rubio. He has pretty much become the poster child for this immigration reform bill. I wonder what your reflections are on his performance here. Do you have any advice for him if you could talk to him right now? Yeah. His staff listens to the show. What kind of message would you like to send to Marco Rubio and how this is going to affect his political career?
Well, he is a good friend and a great American in my mind. I'm very proud of him. We disagree on this issue. I know he began the process trying to be constructive about immigration reform, just as I did when I was in the Senate. But I think he's found, as I did, that the only way to get any even small reforms of our system is you have to give in to the Democrats' desire to put people on a path to citizenship. And unfortunately, that's something that the whole Gang of Eight is supporting. And
you think Marco Rubio has given in to the Democrats?
Well, who knows how all that worked, but I know that he began the process wanting to fix the system just as I did. So he will always be a good friend of mine. We just disagree on this issue.
How is life on the outside?
I feel like I'm getting so much more done. I've been all over the country. People are very anxious for leadership on the conservative side. They just want some common sense in government. So this has given me a chance to help organize grassroots across the country with Heritage Action, which is our partner. And working with good policy people with no political motivation is very refreshing.
All right.
So what you're saying is you don't miss Harry Reid?
No, amazingly, Harry's a friend of mine. We just happen to disagree on even when the sun comes up in the morning.
All right. Jim DeMint, thanks for joining us. It's always a pleasure.